Yo, what is up, everybody? So now we are on the next section. It's chapter 7. Women are like waves. So that means women are like waves. So we're gonna get into this whole chapter. In the link below, you'll have my Patreon post, and it has all the key insights, a lot of notes. So if you want to read it or if you want to look over something, it's definitely there. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let me pull up my notes right here. So before we continue, let's summarize the previous chapter. The previous chapter was men are like rubber bands, which means our intimacy cycle for us. As we get closer, we have the need to pull away. We need to have our own time and space again. And I was talking about our right to, spend alone time, basically. And one of the key quotes here, it says from this book, is men fight for the right for freedom, and women. No, that's not fight. It didn't say fight. It says men argue for the right to be free, and women argue for the right to be upset. That's what this whole chapter is about. So what we need to learn, I'm tired with this so thing, bro. I be saying so every time. What we need to learn about women is that women are not loving 100% of the time. We cannot expect the woman to always be happy, always be ready to give, always be willing to listen, just very nice and loving in general. That's not how women are. They will go down into their well. So men have their cave that they go into, and women go down into their well as described in the book. Let me read you this short quote. A woman's ability to give and receive love in her relationships is generally a reflection of how she is feeling about herself. When she is not feeling as good about herself, she is unable to be as accepting and appreciative of her partner. At her downtimes, she tends to be overwhelmed or more emotionally reactive. Now, we know from my previous episodes in this series that women need to feel understood, right? So what we'll notice sometimes is when you start doing this, you start listening to the woman, understanding, is that as she starts to open up more and more, she'll actually start to feel more and more upset. So it's not, oh, you listen and understand and she's just gonna automatically feel better again and be happy and however, she's gonna get more upset, and that's going to help her vent and get everything out. The mistake that many guys do is they will try to fix these emotions. Rather than just listening and understanding, they're gonna try to fix these emotions. So we got matcha mochi this time. We're at MD Oriental Market. Show them the mochi. Let's show them the mochi. Yep, mochi ice cream. And also, we got the rice flour to make it. So I'm gonna show you how some of this mochi that we're gonna make comes out. Let's get a taste test. Boom. I'll take this one in the middle. Whoa, it's cold. Let's see.
It's good. The other ones were melted.
Not much flavor in the beginning. But then you start to taste the tea flavor.
Choking on the cornstarch. $3.
Yeah, they're only $3 for 6 pieces, so the price here is better, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, the price here is better for these. This is MD Oriental Market. Also, I don't know if you've ever tried these before. These Loacker, Quadratini, whatever, raspberry, yogurt, or all the flavors. All their flavors are so good. You gotta try them. You can get them at the MD Oriental Market. They're just little wafers like this. So good. So good. I'm telling you, you will not regret getting these. You will not regret getting these. You might regret the flavor. Maybe if you don't like lemon, or they have lemon, they have espresso, cappuccino, blueberry, raspberry, yogurts, tiramisu, double chocolates, ginger chocolate. That one's good too. You will not regret getting these for sure. Alright, so we're back and we're gonna finish up this video with the women are like the wave. The woman's intimacy cycle go up and it goes down. Let me read you this one simple quote. A woman is like a wave. When she feels loved, her self-esteem rises and falls in a wave motion. When she is feeling really good, or she will reach a peak, but then suddenly her mood may change and her wave comes crashing down. This crash is temporary. After she reaches bottom, suddenly her mood will shift and she will again feel good about herself. Automatically, her wave begins to rise back up. So because we know from my previous episodes that women need to feel understood, they need to talk, they want to have this intimacy, right, with us, the men. What you may notice is even if you give them this opportunity to talk and vent and get all their emotions out, they're actually going to end up feeling worse. And that's because she is coming down on her wave. What that really means is you'll end up having these warning signs, right? I'm going to give you a couple right now. For example, she might feel overwhelmed, so she might say, there's so much to do. Or she feels insecure and she says, I need more. Or she might be feeling resentful and say, I do everything. These warning signs are for us men to let them know that she's about to start come crashing down. She's starting to realize the things that she may be missing or the things that she's been putting away in her past and throughout her daily life. And in the book, it actually says the woman's wave from one study has found that it takes approximately 28 days for the woman to rise and fall. This is related to the premenstrual cycle, or PMS, premenstrual syndrome, meaning before the menstrual cycle, a little bit before, is when it starts to relate to the wave coming crashing down. But it's not the same for everybody. So if you hear these warning signs, it's an opportunity and it's a warning to you to let you know, hey, it's time for you to listen. It's time for you to understand. And this is when you're gonna have to be the most patient as a guy, because you're gonna have to listen to her vent about some things that sometimes will feel like she's blaming you, but she might not even be blaming you. And you're gonna notice she's gonna start to feel worse and worse, and maybe more problems or more unresolved feelings are gonna come out. But then slowly and surely, with patience, with understanding, and just letting her vent, she's gonna come back up. And that's when she's gonna start to come back to her loving self. It might not be an hour, it might not be 30 minutes, but most importantly, as men, we cannot expect her to automatically feel better after 10 minutes of venting. That's gonna cause a problem. One of the worst things that we can do as a man is when she starts to, I guess, complain or say things that she's not feeling good about, is to try to tell her why she's wrong, or why she should be happy instead, or why what she's feeling is not correct. This is like the worst thing that you could do, because she's opening up to you. She's being honest with you about how she's feeling, and she doesn't do that with everybody. You know what I'm saying? She's not doing that with every single guy, every single woman, whoever. So she's being selective with who she's being opening up with. She's giving you the opportunity, the blessing to be open with you. So don't ever try to make her feel wrong for how she's feeling. You're going to notice that a lot of times she's going to probably feel better again once she gets it all out. But if you make her feel wrong, that's going to be a big argument for you. Big problem. You don't want that. Trust. Another thing that we mentioned here in the book, this is, by the way, chapter 7. It says, men take responsibility for his partner's mood. Whether she is happy or she is sad, he ends up feeling responsible. And I want to tell you, to remind you, that it's not always your fault, or it's not always your responsibility if your woman is not happy. That does not mean don't do anything about it. I'm just saying you are not in control of her feelings 24/7. So you don't have to take responsibility for whenever she's feeling bad or whenever she's feeling good. It might not always be you. Now, that might be a good thing, but it also might be a bad thing for you depending on how you take it. But remember this, because it's going to come up later. Speaking of the warning signs, right, as I mentioned before, when when your partner becomes happy again, it does not mean that the problem or whatever was bothering her has been resolved. It just means she's put it away for now, but she might be happy again to be, or be grateful about everything and whatever. But that does not mean the problem or whatever was bothering her has been resolved. So it might come back up again. And a lot of men will make the mistake of saying, oh, haven't we already talked about this? And that's going to cause her to be upset again, because it might happen in the next month or next week or whatever. So just because she stops talking about the problem does not mean it's been resolved. A quote here from the book, it says, a man's love and support cannot instantly resolve a woman's issues. His love, however, can make it safe for her to go deeper into the well. Another quote, a woman going into her well is not a man's fault or his failure. So remember, we learned from the previous episodes that women's deepest fear is that they don't deserve to be loved, right? So I wrote here as a section summary, women need reassurance that they will be loved and accepted even if they are not as loving. Women are likely to suppress their feelings and become less intimate, withhold sex, numb her feelings using other things. This happens when a woman does not feel safe going into her well. So, and her well, by the way, is becoming unhappy, talking about her feelings, venting, not being happy, whatever, like not always loving. That's her well. And at this point, when she does not feel safe to go into her well with you, then that love is going to end up dying. And a direct quote from the book here, it says, when negative feelings are suppressed, positive feelings become suppressed as well, and love dies. Avoiding arguments and fighting certainly is healthy, but not by suppressing feelings. So we need to both be honest and open and not to suppress our feelings. If we have issues always coming up with our woman and being honest with our feelings, then we need to find better ways to communicate, which we're going to get into later. And he talks about it later in like a couple more chapters, which we will get into. So go ahead and subscribe, and also join me on the Patreon. You'll get notified on these updates. Another thing he mentions here in the book, it says, even if women are doing well in business, actually, no, I said this is my summary. Even if women are doing well in business or work, that does not mean they don't need to go in the well. This doesn't affect her in the work, but it affects her communication with people that she loves. So this is how the quote I said. He said, when a woman is in the work world and she generally is exposed to stress and emotional pollution, her need for emotional house cleaning becomes great. And this is when he starts to talk about the woman's rising, the self-esteem every about 28 days, and it's related to their menstrual cycle. So, and a big problem, he says, is being in the well and for you to be in the cave at the same time is very confusing for people in relationships. Your woman or your partner has been opening up and getting closer and closer with you, especially been following the advice from my book, by being intimate, by listening. She's been opening up and getting closer with you, and then when you start to pull away, she feels like that intimacy is gone. It's not going to come back again. And you're probably going to pull away because you feel like you deserve time to do whatever it is you want to do, because you've been so close and so intimate with her for however long. Now it's your turn, right? That's how you see it. So the male logic is here, quote from the book, I have been so wonderful that for the past 2 weeks. Shouldn't that entitle me to a little time off? I have been giving to you all this time, and now it's time for me. You should be more secure and reassured about my love than ever. That's the male logic. And in the female logic, he says, these last 2 weeks have been so wonderful. I have let myself open up to you more than ever. Losing your loving attention is more painful than ever. I started to really open up, and then you pulled away. He's basically saying to the vulnerable little girl inside of her, basically the girl inside of her, is like giving her candy and then taking it away, because that's all women want, a man to be a man where she can open up and be vulnerable with and be intimate. And then when you go and pull away, meaning you go do your own things, you spend time with your friends, or you go work, or whatever it is you do to pull away, then it's like taking away the candy from her, and she's not expecting that. It says here, the worst thing you can say to a woman, I guess the second worst thing, is telling a woman she should not feel hurt. It is about the worst thing a man can say. It says here, when a woman is feeling hurt, she may sound as if she's blaming you or him. But if she is given care and understanding, the blame will disappear. Trying to explain to her why she shouldn't be hurt will only make matters much worse. And the best thing is to understand why she's hurting and make her feel heard. And I said here, it's going to take a lot of practice. It's going to take putting away the first thought that you get in your mind whenever you start to hear these. It's painful, sometimes as us guys, we hear things that makes our woman upset. Whoever it might be that's upsetting her, or whatever thing is upsetting her, we kind of want to take responsibility, which is why we need to remind ourselves that we're not always responsible for what's making her upset. So it might sound like she's blaming you, and we have to put this in our mind, remember that, so that way when these warning signs come up and she starts to talk about her feelings, especially ones where she's upset, then we need to remind ourselves we are not responsible, and we can only help her by listening and understanding, being someone that she can vent to without being judged, so she can feel safe, she can feel loved, and she can continue to open up to you, because now you are her, you're her partner. What do you mean? That's why. He says here in the book that even when a woman is hurting, she may agree intellectually that she should not be hurting about whatever thing. Let's say you have so much money and your house is beautiful, everything is so good, but yet she's still upset about what and whatnot. And you say, we should be happy because X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Then she's going to only be more upset because you're not allowing her to vent. As I said, I believe in the beginning of the video, couples argue because men want the right to be free and women want the right to be upset. Now that we're talking about listening, right? Listening to the woman whenever she's upset. It's very important that you do not listen when you're not ready to help. And it's very important that you don't try to listen when you are not ready. It will not help. So sometimes you're not able to listen because it's either hurting you too much or it feels like too much blame, or you're just not able to at the time, right? It would only make matters worse. And I have some notes here. You'll actually find these in the Patreon post below. You can join as a free member. 3 steps for supporting her when she needs to pull away. So you need to accept your limitations. You need to understand her pain, and then you need to avoid arguing, give reassurance. And what you could do, I'll just read you one of them here. You could say something like, I understand you're upset. Let's say you're watching TV and she's she's trying to talk, get close with you, but you're not able to listen right now. You say, I understand you're upset, and right now I really need to watch TV and relax. When I feel better, we can talk. So this gives you a good time to cool off and get ready to listen to your partner without making her feelings wrong. She might not like this response that you gave to her, but she definitely will respect it. If there's any woman watching this video, the best time for you to talk to your man is right when he comes out of his cave. And I know I'll have another video in my other series later, because we know that women, they need to like warm back up to you. Like if your man has been gone for a couple of days, he's not been talking to you, he's not been intimate with you, he's not been being honest or close with you, then when he comes back, he's gonna come back full force, and you're like not warmed up to him again. You know what I'm saying? So we'll talk about that later. But if you're watching, like I said, the best time is when the man come back from the cave, whatever he's doing, and he wants to engage with you. That will be the absolute best time to open up, vent, and whatnot, even though it might feel like you have to warm back up to him. It says here in the book that wealth and financial abundance do not guarantee happiness or fulfillment. A woman with high socioeconomic status is often expected to be content and grateful for her circumstances, without permission to express upset or dissatisfaction. This expectation is unrealistic and dismissive of her emotional needs. Regardless of wealth or status, a woman needs permission to be upset and express her emotions, explore her feelings and needs, and allow her emotional wave to crash and be validated. So I wrote here a summary, basically saying that as a man, it's a woman's dream for you to be caring and understanding and empathetic and supportive. Basically like a woman best friend. It would be like her dream, like that. It allows her to feel good. You allow her to feel bad. You allow her to vent, allow her to share her feelings without judgment, and allow her to come to you when she needs you to do these things, to talk to those things. Obviously, these are all skills. Anybody can learn it. Me, you, anybody can learn these skills. And what I wrote here is that we need to also balance these skills, because we are not women. We are not able to do that 24/7. That's why we're man and woman. It's two different. It's like yin and yang. We complement each other, but we're not the same. But it's like infinite, It's like you go back and forth in a cycle. So we need to understand how to balance these skills with our own desires. We need to understand her side, and we need to understand ourselves. And when we know both of these, then we're definitely going to be able to have amazing and great relationship that should be long lasting. Should be good. It should be easy, and it should make you and her feel good. I do have some more information here about, I'm going to leave it basically just in the Patreon. Common conversations and arguments, right? And then the warning signs I was telling you about, and 3 steps for pulling away. So we're not going to talk about that. Oh, and then also a bonus one is what she can do instead of arguing, right? So you're gonna need this one basically when you're gonna need this when you're gonna need this you're gonna need this bonus tip, so that way when you go into your cave, she's thinking, okay, I give him space, but what do I get? You can send this to her, and maybe she'll also understand more about you, so she can be more receptive of it. Anyway, I really want to thank you for joining me on this video. I hope you got some good information out of it. Put some comments down below if with whatever questions you may have. I'll be here to respond to them. and join me in the Patreon. The link is in the description. You're gonna find the notes, like I said, for members only, which you can join for free, and you're gonna get updates to my other notifications. And there's also a new post I made recently, is how to manifest anything. It comes with some notes, and there's also an audio you can listen to. It's an old audio from this guy named Neville Goddard from 1933 or something like that. But it's a really good story, and if you did not get the message from the story alone, I explain the message in the notes. That is also gonna be in the link below. Thank you, and to see you in the next video. That's gonna be chapter 8. Chapter 8 is this one right here. Is gonna be emotional needs. Discovering our different emotional needs. That's what we're gonna be going over next. And yeah, just go ahead, stay tuned. Thank you.